Sounds good. Hey, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon.
Or
Welcome
morning.
to, or morning, as the case may be. Welcome to our the next episode of our webinar series. And this time, we're going to be talking about 5 keys to project management nirvana. Boy, you really went big with that title, Mike, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I was feeling it. So I think folks will, hopefully they'll feel it too.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So we're going to get some feedback from you. We'd love to get some feedback from you. We got a few poll questions that Emily's loading up right now. And we'd love to get your feedback on the challenges that you're facing with project management. We're going to introduce Leandro's here from Microsoft, a special guest, and we're going to talk about their perspective on project management. And then we're going to delve into those 5 keys to project management nirvana and do some demoing on how we can solve those things and account for that in your day-to-day activities. And then we're going to have a QA session. So just introducing today's speakers from Innovative E and Microsoft. A special welcome to Leandro Petronio, who's joined us today. Hey, Leandro.
Hey everyone, yeah, it's awesome to be here. I've been with Microsoft for quite some time now, a little over 9 years, coming up on my 10 year in September, and I've done quite a few things here. But recently, I've been in the project management space for the last 2 years, and I've I've grown to be pretty fond of this space, especially as we transition right into this new normal, which is work from home, be collaborative as possible, all virtually. I think there's a lot of really great things that are happening, especially with Project for the Web and some of the cool things around Power Apps and some of the things you're going to see today too. So I appreciate everyone being on this call and being a part of this.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Thank you very much.
Hey, and of course, we have our very own Mike Taylor.
Yeah, I'm the founder of Innovative E. We've been around for quite a while. I started my career in the project management space, writing software for project management at NASA's Kennedy Space Center, and have been involved in various capacities throughout the years. The last 15 years or so, Innovative E has been deeply focused in the PPM, project portfolio management space, and partnered with Microsoft. So one of the competencies we have is, of course, project portfolio management, but we hold other competencies as well that kind of augment that. So we've been deeply involved in the collaboration space and SharePoint, and also now with the more modern tool sets, the Power Platform, the Power Apps, Power BI, those things, which really I think everybody will see today. We're super excited about the capabilities that these tools bring to the table to solve a lot of the challenges that have been around since way back when I started my career. So we're excited to share today.
Thanks, Mike. And it's Brian Quick. I'm Director of Sales for Innovative E, a Microsoft partner. Prior to joining Innovative E, I was with Microsoft in the project management space. And prior to that, I was in project management IT leadership, and I live down here in Jacksonville. So thanks for joining us. Let's get started.
Awesome.
So Innovative E is an award-winning Microsoft partner, and we've actually won 5 partner awards in the last 4 years, including project portfolio management as well as customer experience globally. We're both finalists in both those areas. And what we do is we help our customers transform work and project management into a competitive advantage with a modern cloud-based collaboration tool set that enables everyone to work toward your core objectives. So, you don't often think about project management as being a competitive advantage, but if you're doing it right and you're optimizing it and you're able to complete your projects on time and on schedule and on budget, certainly can be. And that's what we strive to make possible for our customers.
Right. Absolutely.
So we're going to do our first poll question. All right. We're just going to ask you to think about this. So how do you collaborate as a project team? Is it with email? Are you using SharePoint sites, Microsoft Teams, spreadsheets, or other tools? Go ahead and just post that in the chat if you'd like to participate or comment. I think, we're going to probably see a lot of folks that are still reliant on email and SharePoint. We might see some Microsoft Teams out there. Great. Thanks, Doreen.
Yep, we're seeing some Teams, all the above, more Teams, Monday.com, Teams, email, spreadsheets, Asana, Teams.
All of the above.
That's a lot of Teams, yeah.
A lot of Teams. Yeah, we actually did a similar poll in the last one, and teams came out about 37 or 40%, I think. So it was actually the leading one. As Brian pointed out at that time, though, by nature of the invite and kind of what we say, it maybe the audience is a little bit skewed towards more teams, but teams and SharePoint, everything you have mentioned, all of the
Yeah, I
above.
think I saw a spreadsheet come across there.
There were a few spreadsheets in Excel.
Yeah.
Yep, seen that. Yeah, with you're talking about all the experience that we have doing project management over the years. I like to say we haven't seen it all, but there's very little that would surprise us. So everything everybody's saying is right in line with most of the hundreds of customer deployments we've done. Everybody's got all of those tools in effect. But it is good to see teams really being there's a planner. That's good. WeChat, Teams, email, spreadsheets. Yep.
We
Yep.
see a lot of folks trying to use Teams effectively for project management and struggling a bit.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
And it's because really there's a lot of manual work involved in lighting up the channel, determining who has access to it, and then what do you do from there? I mean, there's so many options with regard to how you manage your schedule and tasks and stuff that it can be a little bit overwhelming or at least inconsistent from one
Yep.
project manager to another.
Yeah, somebody just posted Teams, Zoom, spreadsheets, and Adaptive and email. That's quite the smorgasbord of tools there.
Right.
I haven't heard Adaptive in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian, you
Good
actually
stuff.
make a great point about Teams too. And I remember when obviously COVID was first happening and we had to adjust to the work from home. We would run trainings on pretty much like fundamentals of Teams and just housekeeping and how to really build a Teams channel and an organization, like have a pre-meeting to discuss what you want in it, because people would just be added to Teams and they didn't see the value until they took a step back and planned around how they really wanted that to work. And I think that leverages into any type of project management that you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, people are already doing the work there, right, Leandro? So
Yeah.
it's a natural thing for people to start trying to manage project and other forms of work, because like we're right now, we're on Teams, right? We're already communicating and doing stuff
Yeah,
there.
it's just
So
a natural place to do it. So it's good to see. And
Yep.
and in fact, you're in good company because over 1 million organizations, 91% of the Fortune 100 are using Teams. Over 300 million users across the globe.
Yeah, then as Leandro said, over the pandemic time when everybody went hybrid, that if you look at the numbers, it just went hockey stick, and just people, because they had to, they were had to find communication methods, and so many people were already relying on Office that it was a natural evolution to start leveraging Teams.
Yep. And even if you're using another third-party work management solution, I see some of that coming through in the comments, chances are you're still using Teams for some aspect of what you're doing. You're either trying to use their app in the Teams marketplace and kind of pull in that experience, but your data is actually still in that third-party cloud. So that becomes an interesting situation for reporting.
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout out to everybody for participating in the chat thread with our technical difficulties. This is awesome.
Yep. It's actually pretty cool to see them just coming in while we're talking, and we can comment on them. So maybe we'll just keep doing that.
Yeah, yeah. So I think next up is, here we go. So we're going to let Leandro share a little bit of the Microsoft perspective here with a few slides.
Yep.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. So I won't spend too much time on this stuff. I know that it's much better to see a visual representation of what we have and what's available, right? So I'll just talk about a high level version of what's available and everything that Microsoft's trying to do to fill that gap. Project management we're not strangers to it. We've had project management solutions for over 30 years. If you've used Project Professional Desktop, or if you're still using something like Project Online, or if you've used a little bit of Planner, Project for the Web, we really do have a solution for any project management need, right? And some of the things that you're seeing here, right? All these things tie into how our solution differs and how we can bring everything together, and also bringing everything together with the simplicity of utilizing Microsoft collaboration tools, and also the security that comes with that. I think that's super important, especially if you're, if there's any financials tied to these, or just in general, right? Just having that peace of mind. We have a lot of really great pieces around that. So yeah, these are some of the things that you're going to see, and especially with our newer solution. If you want to actually switch to the next one. So the one piece that I really wanted to focus on today is a little bit of our newer solution, which is Project for the Web. So if you've used Project for the Web before, you may see some of the stuff. If not, I want to talk about a little bit how we connect all of the Microsoft platform essentially into our project management style now. So Project for the Web being a little bit newer, like I mentioned, it's all built off the Power Platform, which gives you a lot of really great resources. So one being Microsoft Teams. The benefit of that is the collaboration just becomes much easier, right? So not only can you stay connected with your team, but you also have a very similar interface than you're using in Microsoft Teams. If you were then to do any type of project management on Project Web App, if you've used that before, but it brings in everything together. And kind of like what we touched on in the beginning, if you already have a well thought out Microsoft Teams channel, incorporating a project can be very easy to do, especially if you already have, that set up. So I think that's super important. The Power App side is extremely important and pretty exciting as well, because it gives you the ability to tailor this solution to your environment. I think as we continue to add in different data sources from external users and external sources, being able to configure a Power App to work the best for your team. And if we want to think of it all up, you could be in a company that 300,000 employees. Not everyone's going to use project management exactly the same. So even if those some of these things are getting pushed down, like, hey, you guys are now going to be using Project Online or Project for the Web to manage your project, you can still customize it to work best for your team, even if it's a short stint project or if you're something that you're going to be managing for quite some time. That's a great part of the Power App side.
Yeah, and
Yep.
that's a great point, Leandro. And we struggle with this with our customers for many years, of being able to enable and empower people to use the right kind of product or the right kind of solution that they need for the degree of complexity they need. Things like Project Online, that's great for you've got complex resource management and other types of issues. Project for the Web is a little bit more for folks that are maybe it's more for everybody else, right? The
Yeah.
people that do have project management challenges, they still need to do things like the recently announced dependency. They already had start to finish, but they have all the different dependencies. So you need to be able to build a schedule that has some dependency management in it and things like that. The other thing that's really, you mentioned this, that I'd really like to kind of double down on, is that it's all on the Microsoft Trusted Cloud. And this is
Right.
really the modernization approach that we're looking at here, and that customers are starting to realize. Some of the folks that are on the forward end of thinking here is that bringing it all into the Microsoft Secure Cloud really, it not just makes it more secure, it actually enables you to do so much more, because you're not worried about all the security with all these different third-party apps and data sources. And I'm sure everybody on this call is familiar with the fact that getting anything new into through your infosec folks or into your IT environment, it requires a lot of work. And the Microsoft Cloud, if you're already there, it's already there. You may have to turn a few licenses on, do a few things, but you've already got that secure cloud as the backbone of the solution.
That's right. And the flexible tools that you're talking about, Leandro, Project for the Web, and like you said, Mike, it's really built for people that maybe are running smaller projects and more flexible work styles. It has Kanban board, for example, and as well as a Gantt chart timeline. But it's easy. It's like super easy to use for those
Yeah.
people that, project on the desktop is overkill for some people, right? And and it's intimidating and the perception is, wow, that it's going to take a lot to get into that. I just need something right now, something simple. And that's what Project for the Web is built for, right?
Yeah, good point. And, being newer to the role, 2 years in the project management space, it was much easier for me to immediately start using Project Online. Project for the Web. Project Online, Project Desktop took some serious training in YouTube videos to really understand it, right? Because
Oh yeah,
I don't have a
absolutely.
background of project management prior to this. It was just more of a, being able to set up teams and collaborate that way. So it, even out of the box, it's a pretty user friendly interface too. And to touch on some of the points that you guys discussed too, if we think about the Microsoft 365 platform, they are even allowing you to just by having like E3 or E5 licensing, you can make some basic edits and basic
Updates.
viewing rights and stuff like that, which is great, right? So they're really trying to incorporate this across the Microsoft platform, tying in Power Automate as well. So pulling data from one to another, being able to roll this all up into a Power BI report, where from a high level perspective, you want to be able to see where your projects live, if there's anything's at risk, if you need to drill down. All those things can be tied in together with a Power BI. So if you're a PMO or senior leadership and you want to just understand where your resources are at, you don't have to drill down into an actual project itself. You could just view a report that's customized to you guys. So I think obviously as you tie all these together, it starts to make a little bit more sense. I know we're going to see some of this stuff in these demos too, so I won't beat these to death. But some of the big things here too are what is the right solution for you. And we talked a little bit about Planner earlier. It's built into Microsoft Teams. It's something that is actually used in terms of project management. It's about 50% of our traffic is through Planner. And if you've used Planner in the past, it's a really great tool. There are some limitations, right? But in terms of like having a Kanban board and having things to, task management, and just being able to complete tasks and have dates, Planner is a great resource. When you want to begin to do some more things like scheduling, right, and seeing Gantt charts and setting up some dependencies and those things, Project for the Web is really what is you're going to start using and utilizing a little bit more. And we're trying to have that organic growth from Planner to Project, right? So as Planner users, it's a great resource for more individualized. Project is great for a team, and especially more of your lightweight users. And then our next option will be Project with Power Apps, like we kind of mentioned, and being able to customize, having some integrations from other fields, and really tying everything in through a Power BI, and having intake forms through Project Power Apps. So these are some really great resources. I'll turn this over to some of the demo stuff, but I think I'm pretty excited to see some of the things that I'm excited to show you guys. We'll have Innovative E show you guys some of the things that Project for the Web can do.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really great. So let's get into these keys. We have 5 keys to talk about today, the keys to project management success. And the first one is fix collaboration chaos, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so one of the big factors that we've seen in project management for years is a little bit what we call collaboration chaos. It seems to have always been very tool specific. I think Microsoft made some very good strides when they started to incorporate SharePoint a few years ago with what was Project Server at the time, then Project Online. And so you had a move in the right direction for having collaboration as a key component, but it still wasn't central to the whole thing. So if you think about the fact that there's a lot of maybe even third-party applications that are out there, and even people using things like SharePoint and Teams, some of the challenges that you faced are varying degrees of collaboration among the project managers if they're left to their own devices to go create like the Teams channels and or the team sites and channels and things like that. And the project management tools sometimes themselves are perceived to be inflexible and difficult to use. The team member experience can be inconsistent because of those things, and some of your key project information, your risk issues, data, things like that can still be siloed. And then because of all those, it can be difficult to find information, right? Right, Brian?
Yeah. So this is like, look, you might be using Teams already. You might be trying to use it for project collaboration, and we think there's tons of people doing that, by the way. Just in folks that we're talking to, it confirms it on the call today with all the participation that we're seeing. It's a natural place to try to do project management because it's where the collaboration is taking place. It's where the documents are. It's, just where people are working today. But even so, you got to set up the team, figure out what team to align it to, who has access to what, then where do you go from there? You've got so many options with how you manage the schedule. Do I use Planner? Do I try to use Project? What if I want to synchronize a project plan for my desktop to Teams? What if I want external participation with vendors? What if I want a consistent way of tracking risk issues and other data? If everybody is doing it their own way in Teams, and all the project managers have their own way of doing it and way of working, then it's going to be inconsistent from project to project, and your data is still not going to be centralized. So the answer is really to create a collaborative space for apps and people that allows that consistent collaboration for everyone, regardless of what tool you're using to actually execute or schedule the project out. And instead of going to find a project management solution off the shelf to fix these problems, we think you're on the right track. Keep using Teams, but we're going to introduce a couple of concepts today that are going to allow you to think about it a little differently. Think about how you use Teams for project management a little bit differently.
And in fact, when you do go out and you use those third party, we could debate the secure platform and moving data and things like that. But just at a minimum, you're actually adding to the chaos, right? Because if you go take, Thursday.com or whatever, and you put that out there, you've they have their own collaboration capability, right? So now you have it over there, and we've seen, in the chat thread, people have that, and they have Asana and Rike, and we could do the salad of all the different names all day long. But it adds to that chaos rather than bringing it together.
What we're going to do is show you, and we're not going to go through a whole deck here and then show you stuff. Nope. So we're going to go, I'm going to show you right now. So this is what we're talking about. We're in Teams. Okay. Now, what I can do is I can have a project channel within a department or a program within Teams, and then I can choose my project management execution method. So in this case, I'm looking at a project for the web project. And that project for the web project is in the new style that Leandro was talking about, where it's super easy to use. It has the Kanban board. It has the timeline. It has, I'm going to zoom out of that a little bit so you can kind of see that better. It has the ability to create task interactions right from the timeline. So if I want dependencies, I can just map them right here. And then if something goes long, my whole project's going to push out. So those of you that are using Excel, this is better because it's super simple to use, but it also has the scheduling engine component built into it. You have your charts, which is for simple reporting. And then you've got a people view where you can easily reassign things to others and see what the workload is looking like on that project.
Yeah, now, this view is actually pretty new as well.
It is.
And the nice thing about as Brian's going over some of the stuff is there's a really healthy roadmap for a project for the web as well. So some of these things weren't available. Like this view wasn't available, I believe, 2 months ago, right? And they're continuing to add pieces to it. So there's a lot of innovation going into it. And then things that we're hearing from customers, we're throwing it into, we're trying to see if it makes sense. And the product team is very involved on that stuff too. So it's exciting to see.
It is. If you want to learn more about a task, you can just click on the information icon, and then you can, even create dependencies. Now, Leandro, what's coming up next is different kinds of dependencies within the task. So finish to start, start, stuff like that with lead and lag. That's coming very soon. And that's often a key question we get when people are considering project for the web over more traditional project management solutions. Now watch this, especially Mark Webster, I see you out there. If I want to use project on the desktop, I can do that too as a scheduling option. So here I have a schedule built-in project for the desktop, and I'm using the project online service to synchronize that to the cloud, but I'm just pulling up right in Teams here. And then I've got a project report, and we're going to talk about reporting a little bit later. That project report is an automated status report. And regardless of if I'm using either schedule, I'm still able to get the exact same report from both of these projects. So 2 different scheduling types, 2 different scheduling options, same report. And then I'm also able to see them consolidated within the overall portfolio dashboard report, regardless of execution style. And we are going to talk about this a little bit later too. But guys, I didn't do anything to stand up these channels. Our app did it automatically. All you
Right.
do really is fill out a workflow form, approve it, and it stands up the channel automatically with your scheduler of choice. So I didn't do anything. I didn't have to figure out where's it going to go, who's got permissions to stand up the channel. It all just happens automatically behind the scenes. Get this second poll up. I don't think we're not actually doing official polling, but I'm going to ask this anyway. Which of these apply to your team or organization? We hear that project information is often spread among disparate legacy systems or other systems. I'm sure you guys are in a similar situation. We know a lot of you are wasting time on tedious competitive tasks or repetitive tasks like project status reports, who has permissions to the SharePoint site and giving people access, just putting together your talking points about the project and getting that in a format where executive management can consume it, updating your spreadsheets, your emails, things like that. And then you need complete visibility to help drive decisions, but your data doesn't support it because your data is disconnected. It's off somewhere else. It's in one place and another. And that leads to your work being managed inefficiently with disconnected tools. So, and a lot of you are confirming this right now in the chat.
Yep. A lot of 1 and 2s, a lot of all the above, a lot of number 1.
Yeah.
Disparate systems. So,
yeah.
Yep, 1 and 2. We've seen this before in similar types of polls and interactions with customers that it's really it's all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
The number 1 usually is one of the top leading things that is spread among disparate legacy systems. And sometimes if you said even modern cloud solutions, I think it would even go up because some people are putting things, as we've seen in the first poll, in things like Asana, Thursday.com, right? Whatever, right? So it's maybe not just legacy, it's other systems.
Yep, exactly.
Yep, all the above, number 4. Yep.
So let's talk about key number 2, and we think that's consolidating and normalizing data. So the challenges that we're seeing here is, time is spent chasing all that data around, manually transforming it so that it's actionable. Data collection's not happening, or it's inconsistent. So you're really unable to keep track of what's going on across your portfolio. And you know what? The number 1 reason that is because people are not going to all use the same tool to manage their projects. We need to come to that realization. We need to offer variety of tooling that's fit for the job. It's
right.
like the difference between a chainsaw and a box cutter.
Good point.
It's just not one size fits all, and we all realize that not everybody is a professional project manager, and they're not always all going to use project on the desktop or be comfortable with it. So that's what's happening, guys, is people are using different things. So that means the data, to date, you're struggling with your data being disconnected, and we're going to offer a solution that helps you with that.
And then your third point there, that project metadata exists a lot of times in charter documents, SharePoint lists, or ticketing systems, or wherever the origin of that is, and it never makes it into the actual the same kind of digital format where everybody's sharing that information, where the project execution goes on. And so, just to be clear, for those PMPs out there and folks who have project management professional backgrounds, we're really focusing more on the execution, but this really does touch all the phases of project lifecycle. So that stuff that's in the project charter and all that's usually in the initiation phase or the business case phase, and then it moves into the execution phase. But if they're not connected, if you're not going back to and regularly looking at why are we doing what we're doing and what are what's the metadata around it, and if it needs to change, that never happens, right? You lock in a project and nothing ever changes. No, it happens on every single project, right? It's like
project management basically about managing change. It's not about that nothing's going to happen.
Our director of operations. Our director of operations, Aaron, he has a saying he loves to use because he's done a lot of project management and stuff. And he said, his quote from Mike Tyson, he said, everybody has a plan till you get punched in the face. Right. So your plan changes pretty quick. It's like maybe I need to raise that left a little bit.
So let's get that metadata out of the documents. We need it to categorize and report on projects. We need to know who the stakeholders are, who the sponsors are, what the budget is, capital versus operational costs. We need to know why we're doing a project, what degree is it aligned strategically. That all stuff is in a Word document maybe today. We need to get it out of there, and we need to be able to report on it in the same context, in the same report set that we're reporting on the status of the schedule, and the risks and the issues that are going on. It should all be one dashboard, and so there's ways to collect that data. Let's start doing it. So what we can do is offer consistent and reliable data, permission-based centralized editing of that data, and then the metadata becomes reportable. And we can offer flexible and customizable workflow. Let me show you. So here I've got a project request form. I can go ahead and fill this out. My project name, can be webinar demo project. I can offer a description and maybe a quick start date. Now this is our, normal out of the box
starter form.
Charter form, but it can be whatever you guys need it to be. It's highly configurable because we're using Power Apps and Power Automate to do this. So the intention is that it's super configurable for your organization.
Yeah, none of our customers use this like this. They all have their special way of doing it, and some of them are very elaborate with multi-state workflow and stage gating for approvals and all that kind of stuff. But this will get you started.
That's right. That's right. Now you can have, of course, if you don't want approvals or a workflow, you don't have to have that.
Nope.
So what's going to happen is that's going to go through the workflow, and I'm going to get a card shortly that I'm going to be able to approve that project. But once it's approved, it goes into this dashboard. This is the Power App that we've built. It's called Teams for PM, and it manages all of the data about the projects. So you see the project name, you see the status, owner, you see department, you see phase, cost, risk, all types of data. If you want different data, there's actually an admin console you can use to add different columns to this data set so that you can do it yourself. So if I wanted to include like an update on the branch audit project, project is on schedule and proceeding, I would just type it in there. Same if I wanted to change the status of something, the red, yellow, green, or change, the sponsor or the stakeholder or what have you, or the priority of the project. It's a simple dashboard. I can just edit them all if I have permissions to do so in one place. Whereas, you don't have to go to different project files to find that, to edit that information. And that information is partially what drives that portfolio dashboard that I was showing earlier. So we're combining that metadata with the data from the schedules, regardless of execution type, into a consolidated dashboard of information.
And that's really cool. So this is the integrated dashboard, which is a one-way information, right, Brian? But in the previous one, it was actually bi-directional, right? So when you made that change, it actually went and updated the execution path that it was in, whether it's project online or project for the web.
It sure did, Mike. And that project report for the branch audit project is updated just the same. And that project is on schedule and proceeding line, just made it right in there. So it's bi-directional. When I make changes in the central app, it goes back to the channel and vice versa. And the same is for risks and issues. So we need to capture that data on the channel where it's collaborative and people are all capturing those issues and risks together. And they're assigning them and they're prioritizing them. But when we go back to the app, you'll notice that all that data, that risk and issue and lessons learned data, is captured centrally and administrable centrally. So if I wanted to make changes here, here's all the issues that are going on in the company. Here's all the lessons learned on my projects, and here's all the risks. We're not relying on a project manager's special way of collecting those things, where we've standardized it. And when the project channel is deployed, you get your risk list. It's standard. So you know that if you use that one, you're going to have the data be reportable and centrally auditable. That's basically how the Teams for PM system works. It automates the Teams channel creation and provides all the right buckets for you to put your project data in, and provides 3 options for the scheduler: project for the web, which you saw with the contract audit project; project on the desktop, which you saw with the facilities upgrades project; and coming to a theater near you, we're going to offer planner as an execution type. So one of the other things we hear all the time is that project information is displayed and presented in different ways. And I'll bet your executive managers don't even really know how long it takes, or don't want to know how long it takes for you to consolidate that data together. Are you manually developing and updating reports? Are you doing image captures from other project work management tools? Are you basically creating your own dashboards manually using Excel and whatever else is going on out there? And you just saw ways that we're able to automate all that stuff.
Yeah, we're getting some requests or some chat replies in 1, 2, and 3. Too many hours lost. I'm sure a lot of hours have been lost, Vicky. Yeah, we see that and hear that all the time. 1 and 2, 1 and 3, 1.
Yeah, 1 seems to be the winner for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we see, right, Andrew, you hear that all the time from customers.
Yeah,
people are always
absolutely.
having to hand roll their stuff. They got to go, go figure it out. And spreadsheets are oftentimes the choice, but they're brittle and fragile, and you can share them,
Yeah.
but then people stomp on formulas and they get complicated. We've had customers that have come to us with extremely complicated spreadsheets, interlinked and everything else, and they're like, this is breaking all the time. It's like, yeah, it's not a database.
Yeah, sometimes it's the biggest competitor, to be honest, is Excel.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep. Exported from EHR in their data warehouse. Yeah, Elizabeth, we see that too. We see that people oftentimes will use custom data warehouses or data warehouse solutions. That's a step in the right direction, because you're now pulling in and you're not using something as brittle as a spreadsheet. So
you're creating manual status reports. You're not, often there's one project manager and it was me in former lives, that was like really into risk management. And I had like the coolest risk management spreadsheet ever, and it had auto calculations on it and everything for like risk score and everything like that. I was totally geeked out on it. But no other project manager used it, so it wasn't centralized and reportable data. And I'm sure there's a few of, a little bit of that going on out there too. We need to double down on risk and issue management as a concept in project management offices, because that's how we keep things on track. And we need to do that in a consistent way across all projects. I'll get off my soapbox about that now. And centralized reporting, varying degrees of project management style lead to inconsistent data. Amen. So what we can do is we can offer a solution that governs data collection and automates reports. We saw a little bit of that earlier. Let me get into how to create that one single source of truth for project data, but do it in a collaborative way. So here's what we used to, Mike, we used to say, we need a single source of truth for project data. So everybody needs to go over here and use this system. And if you use that system, then we're going to get our single source of truth for project data. But nobody ever wanted to go over and use that system.
And to what you're getting at here, and I may be jumping the gun, Brian, is really kind of reversing this whole thing. It's kind of like turning the idea upside down, right? It's about people, and many organizations, we did it, and you're right. It was all about the change management. It was about the training and configuration and figuring out how to get people to use a system that really kind of made the people bend around the way the system worked, rather than the technology enabling people to work the way they want, which is kind of what we're getting at with everything we're talking about here.
Absolutely. So what we're going to do is we're turning this on its head, and we're saying Teams offers a unique opportunity because it's so flexible and you can build great experiences within it, like we did for the Teams for PM tool. We're leveraging Power Automate, Power Apps, and Power BI, the tools Microsoft that Leandro gave us. And we're saying, let's build.
I hand built them.
Yeah, that's right. Great job. It worked really good. We love them.
Yeah. So we've got all these tools. It's like, and we're building these experiences within teams. So we're bringing the project management to the people instead of having the people go use a thing. And really, that thing was always where the project managers hung out anyway.
Right.
So the team didn't collaborate there. I mean, we tried to with SharePoint. We tried to make a collaborative space with the project management, and it was good 10 years ago.
Right.
But now we have.
I think we lost Brian for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think where he was going is it's time to move on. If you really want to advance the capabilities, you got to think about the modern way of looking at things. And Andrew, you said this earlier, and I'll double down on that point, which is things like Project for the Web with the O365 add-ons, or not add-ons, but what comes out of the box is really what I meant to say, is enables everyone to participate in doing like updates, task updates without additional licensure. So a project manager with a Project for the Web license can go in and assign tasks, and then anyone can do that. And that was something that customers asked for years of being able to really have everybody participate as needed within the organization without having to necessarily go get additional licensure. So a licensure is important if you're going to be creating the projects and the schedules and doing the assignments and all that, but really making it possible for everyone to participate.
Did I freeze there for a sec?
Yeah, you were gone.
Yeah.
So
I want to touch on Paul's point real quick in the chat too. I think that like the biggest struggle that I've seen is the adoption phase, right? So you're talking about your stakeholders and meeting them where they're at. A lot of times these solutions are thrown to you, right? Or thrown at their team and say, this is what we're using going forward. And it just never gets adopted correctly. And then, there could be a ton of money, a ton of time, a ton of resources thrown into the migration and implementation. But as long as the end user doesn't feel confident, you're never going to see it roll out and be, and work the way it's supposed to, especially the way that we're talking about it now, right? We want it to be as collaborative as possible. So it really just starts from the beginning and meeting those stakeholders, where they feel as comfortable as possible.
Yeah, great point.
Exactly. So my screen's still showing, right?
Yeah, you're on.
I think you're moving along now. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Good.
you froze like
the update.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So anyway, the issues list, the lessons learned, the risks, they're all deployed within the channel automatically so that we don't have to worry about our data being disparate or people collecting data in different ways so it's not reportable. And that all gets provisioned when you start the project, when you approve it alongside of the report and the scheduler. So Teams for PM is automating and governing all of that according to your rule set. You can even have, if you want to have different kind of project data, you want to report on like other RAID type data, we can do that. So we can offer different kinds of lists that you might want to have, like up here. If you want actions or decisions, you can offer different kinds of lists up there too. So it really does offer like all the right buckets from which to capture information. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint real quick. And I think we're on number 4.
We are.
Number 4 here. So key number 4, Mike.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about automation and the importance of automation, and you're going to get into a demo here in a second around intake and some of those kind of things. But automation is a key component of any kind. When you get into any kind of complexity with a project process, you start to run into, like on the intake or downstream in project execution, oftentimes there's things that need to be automated workflow. Some people call it workflow. It's automation to do certain things around the way you need to handle those things. And so what you have is, we've seen this over and over and over again. You have a lot of custom code or specialized workflow engines. Some things like Thursday.com have their own workflow, right? They have folks that are then building solutions out there in a different area, which is specialized and doesn't interface with the other things. So the rest of the platform data. We talk about things like channel creation can be tedious and inconsistent. So the governance from a governance perspective of Teams governance, if you're talking about actually using Teams, can be an issue. And then the skill sets are inconsistent within individuals. You need human capabilities, and we have some customers that have very large, like Landry, you were saying, 200,000-300,000 people within the organization. They have the project management area alone may have several hundred, or if we've had customers had as many as 8,000 project managers, and just thousands and thousands of project plans, and that doesn't include kind of the more casual project managers that can now start to come into the doing things in like Project for the Web. So with varying skill sets, you have everybody out there creating things and workflows and automation and using whatever tools without sticking with some form of modern and standardized tool set. Then that creates all kinds of problems. And then another thing that happens like with the custom stuff, or if you're using a solution that's not approved or whatever, somebody mentioned shadow IT, that happens a lot when you get into this kind of area. That person then moves on, right? They take another job within the organization, or they get promoted, or they go somewhere else. And now nobody knows how to maintain that anymore, right? So it becomes like, well, that's broken. What do we do about it? I don't know. Joe's gone. Right. So I think what you're really getting at here is use the if you go back up one, I think use what's in there in terms of the modern automation platform. So use the existing Microsoft platform that's already there, and it is the underpinning of everything we're talking about here. For Teams, it's the underpinning of Teams. It actually, Project for the Web. Somebody asked that question. They said it's a SharePoint app. I said no. Project for the Web is actually one of the first apps that was built from the ground up as a true Power application. And Teams for PM, which we're doing a lot of this demo on, we built that. It's also a true Power Apps. So I'll let you go
Power
on
Apps and Power Automate are like the flux capacitors of project management. So basically, it's what makes time travel possible. You've got all these great tools that can be used in Teams, and that's how we're moving data back and forth. That's how we built Teams for PM, our app. It leverages all those capabilities, and it's extremely customizable and easy to build and use. And it has all of these great built-in connectors. So key 5 is basically manual and vendor-specific connections. You guys need to connect your data, and you need to connect line of business systems with your project management data, and that's been challenging and expensive. So Power Automate offers a new way of doing that. They have over 300 built-in connectors which work natively with the data set that we're creating in what's called the Dataverse, which is the database that stores all this stuff. And they're native, and you can build a custom Power Automate connector as well for anything that's not in the list.
And there's a lot in the list, and they're robust. So we see that all the time with customers that they need to connect to some financial data, or they need to connect to something else with their project management system. And so they're going out, and we've actually been involved with projects where you sit through meeting after meeting about getting through the specs of how to use their custom API to get that data out of their cloud, get it into the Microsoft cloud, or get it into the Dataverse so that you can then do something else with it. The connectors are really key to, if Power Automate or Power Platform is kind of the is the engine, then this is the tires, right? Whatever that allows it to go, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's like built-in flexibility and integration potential. So we've talked a lot about Teams for PM. This is the app that we built with the Microsoft Power Platform. We built it in Power Apps. It uses Power Automate and Power BI. It's in the Microsoft commercial marketplace as an approved app. And really what it does, and we've talked about this all afternoon, is it optimizes and extends Teams for the purposes of work and project management. It brings project management into Teams, and it unifies those execution tools like Project for the Web, Project Online, and Planner. And we're also thinking about and strategizing about how do we bring Azure DevOps into the mix as a fourth execution style for the schedules. And the tasks, so you can do your agile development in this method as well. It automates and governs that Teams channel creation, so you don't have to figure out how to do it. And it provides tailored workflow for all of your business processes, project intake, or other processes that you want to build into it. It allows for central editing of all that project-related data, like I showed you, and it provides out-of-the-box Power BI reports and dashboards, so you don't have to build them. Teams for PM really works, and we said, it's basically its foundation is on the Power Platform. And so let's talk about this visualization a little bit, Mike.
Yeah, so really, and I'll try to go quickly because we're down to 5 minutes, allow some time for some Q&A.
Yep.
If you see on top there, it's Teams for PM, and that provides all the things that you were talking about. It says the automation, governance, scheduling, collaboration, dashboarding, all those things, brings it together. You see the various arrows that are pointing down. We're utilizing the Power Platform to bring all that information together, right? And then be able to do everything from the automation to the reporting and those kind of things. That's where we're really utilizing the power of the Power Platform and the Dataverse. And the Dataverse is really kind of the data storage capabilities that are in there. And then you see the work management tools at the bottom. So you see Project Online, Project for the Web, Planner. Soon we'll have ADO, Azure DevOps in there, and more. So it's really about bringing those things. We're utilizing the Power Platform to do that. And then you see on the left, it's the challenges as we move through using this kind of construct. Then you come with the outcome, and those they might look familiar. Those are the 5 keys, right? The outcomes are the 5 keys there on the right. So that's what we're trying to help people get to, and organizations get to, is be able to do this in this execution component in a much more effective way, where it takes a lot less time. It's much more robust. It provides actual capabilities that you never had before to do things. And that's where this is all meant to do.
And Mike, I'll mention also, it helps people maximize the platform that they already own and trust today.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I was going to add that.
That's great. Yeah, absolutely. And it really, at the end of the day, it allows people. I saw a quote, I can't remember who it was, on LinkedIn the other day. He put it out and said, what automation and AI and these things do, which, by the way, we're going to be supporting AI as well. You have to say AI these days because ChatGPT, AI,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you have to throw that in. What these things do is it allows people to remove themselves from the mundane piece. And we've talked about a lot of mundane things here, right? Chasing data and building reports and manually doing these things, automation, manual automation, custom automation. You bring all these things together and automate this stuff, and then it allows people to do the creative work of being able to execute these initiatives better, right? The things that the technology can't do,
right,
and are more fun, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we're not project trackers, we're project managers.
Right.
So let's take a look at a couple of these things. So if you want to check out our apps, our entry in the Microsoft Azure Marketplace, here's a QR code you can get to real quick and scan that and open that up. We'd love to hear from you on there, and Microsoft is helping us build that out. And then we'd like to suggest some next steps. So we've got a website, teamsforpm.com. Take a look at it. There's all kinds of stuff out there. Customer case studies with the Southern New Hampshire University, infographics, solution briefs, blog posts, webcasts, videos, podcasts, so you can share them with your team. And I'd love to talk to you about scheduling a customized demo so we can really see where your challenges lie and make sure that the solution would fit for you. Drop me an email or just simply use the contact us page on our website.
We've been having a pretty robust stream of chat discussions going on. Probably going to have some follow-up conversations, which we'd love to do. There's some things that are probably faster than a minute or two to answer. But are there any other questions, quick questions that folks would like to ask? Seems to have slowed down for the moment.
Yeah, if you don't have any Power Apps today, you might even already have the licensing that you need to install Teams for PM from a Power Apps perspective. Let's look into that. Let's have a call with your IT department and see if you're already situated there or if they have any questions about the solution.
Absolutely. And thanks again, Leandro, for joining us today. That was great.
Yeah, no,
Good
absolutely.
perspective.
And I appreciate you guys bringing me on. This was it's cool to see what's available. And I know, as Microsoft creates these solutions, it's not always the prettiest things out of the box. And I know there's always gaps to fill. So, and it seems like in the chat, this is a big gap that a lot of people are seeing. So it's exciting. Thanks,
everyone. Really great. So let's continue the conversation. Teamsforpm.com or drop me an email. We're here for you. So let's make it a continuing conversation. Love to talk about it some more.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.